All right, greetings everybody. My name is Guy Rames, and in just a minute you'll see me. Hello everybody. So my name is Guy Rames, and this is going to be PSU-203, which is our course on IP surveillance for small business. This particular course is a focused course. I'm covering several products by Bosch, specifically focused on small business environments. So we're going to take a look at a variety of products, not just Bosch, but a few others as well. But as we go through the course, I plan to take a pretty technical look at the Bosch products, and as we go, I'll be talking about strategies for implementing this product in small business environments. Okay, so and while sorry, I was distracted by somebody chatting a message, which brings up a good point. During today's discussion, as you participate, I would feel free to chat away in the chat window that you see down in your WebEx session. During the discussion, I'll be able to see those questions and respond to them and adjust what I'm talking about according to your question. Most of you will choose to stay on mute during the call, which is probably good as we're getting up to about 20 people. So please feel free to chat your question in the provided chat session area. Well, thank you for joining today. I'm excited to roll out what I've got for this particular course. This style of course, I'm kind of making it like I'm learning stuff so that you don't have to in this case. So I've taken a pretty nice product, pretty low-cost product, and a definite product that fits the small business space very well. But there are nuances and issues you have to overcome to get it right. And so I've gone through those, and I'm going to explain what those are, and also going to talk about a strategy. So whether you're a salesperson or whether you're a technical person, I think this course will fit you. Before we get started, I want to introduce physicalsecurityU.com for those of you who are not familiar with it, and I'm going to explain what's going to happen after this course is finished. So to do so, I'm going to share my monitor. There we go. You should see my desktop there. I hope you do. And so please chat me if you don't see it, but I think you do. So the first thing we want to go to is physicalsecurityU.com. And physicalsecurityU.com is a website that we run here at Ingram Micro. This particular website is designed to hold course content for you to review after participating in one of these webinars. So for those of you who do not have experience with this, what you'll do is after this course, we will be sending you a log-on for this physicalsecurityU.com website. If you don't have one, you'll be getting one today. If you already have one, that's fine. After the course is archived and I have recorded this session, you will be able to log on to physicalsecurityU.com and you'll be able to go to the course and view all of the archived content. Everything I'm talking about today is being recorded, and I will transcode that video at the end of this session. It takes about a day to do, and so that sometime tomorrow I'll be posting the content, and you will have access to it so you can view it offline. So for those of you who are worried about being able to see this offline or whatnot, you can be able to do so. Now, somebody just let me know that my screen is a little bit larger resolution. So what I'm going to do is move this down for you a little bit so it's not such large resolution. That might be a little bit better. Hopefully it is. So a couple other points to point out on physicalsecurityU.com. First off, over to the right is the schedule of all our upcoming courses. There are only 2 courses left for this year. The first course is the one I'm doing now, and then Thursday morning I have a second course, which is talking about transitioning a customer from an analog surveillance system to IP video. That course will feature a Bosch encoder, and it will feature Genetec video management software. So if you're interested in seeing Genetec, you're interested in seeing a good analog encoder, and some other issues I have that I'm going to discuss about analog, that will be on Thursday's course as well. So a couple other features about physicalsecurity.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. I post a lot of videos, about 2 a week, up to the YouTube channel. You're welcome to subscribe to that. Any new content I produce, I Twitter out, so you can also follow me on Twitter if you want to, and that's under the share link as well. We also have a blog which you can follow for the blog entries that we post. And then down under available courses, you'll see all the courses that we have available. If you see a course that you would like to look at, maybe even if we've already had the course, you can enroll in the course. Once you have an account, you can click enroll here. When you do that, we will automatically take you and add you to that course and enroll you, and you can then participate in some of that offline content. Just to show you what this looks like, when you go to one of these courses, after you log in as your account, there's a variety of different things you'll see in here. One of the things you may see is an online course content module. It runs kind of like a PowerPoint training almost. It's a little bit better than PowerPoint. It has audio and various other things. You may have an archived video training, which is what you see here. There's an archive of the training session that we held online. So if you want to go back and review maybe what we've already done, you can do so. Some of the courses will have a series of YouTube videos also posted up here, and so you can see that as well. It just depends on the course, depends on what content is developed. Here's an example of a course where there are 3 YouTube videos that you can reference and view, as well as the archived live session. So it just depends on what was done during the course, but you can see all that up there. This particular course, because it's more of a technical in nature, I will be posting a variety of documentation also up at this course site that I'll be referencing throughout today's course. All right, so that's physicalsecurity.com, and that's pretty much it for that. Does anybody have any questions before I get into the meat of the content? All right, well, I don't hear any questions, or I don't see any chatted questions, so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go and take a look at the video behind me. So you should see, if you don't know how to do it, when you're sharing the desktop, when I'm showing you a desktop, you may have to go up to the top of your screen and click on the video button so you can see the video. But you should be seeing a video stream right now from one of my cameras of the table behind me. Now, on this table, you'll see a variety of products, and I'm going to go ahead and point those products out to you right now. You'll notice that on the table, there is a small box. This product is known as the D-Bar IP3000. I'll chat that product out for you. So it's called the D-Bar IP3000. Like many manufacturers, Bosch included, but others as well, and every time I've held one of these courses, I've tried to do a different one, just so you can see a variety of different products in the market, not just one in particular. But this is a NAS product, a network attached storage type product. It's running Windows storage server on it, and it has a variety of software packages that we're going to be taking a look at today installed on it. This is the type of product that you need for a small business. This is perfect because it's a cube style product, meaning that it basically has a very small form factor. Let me show you the front of it so you can see it. There you go. So they're just in this picture, just to the right, you'll see the little Bosch box. There's a variety of other products on the market that are like this one. This is nothing really special, but it does run the Bosch Enterprise version of their video management system. So the same video management system that runs in their enterprise clients runs on the small box. So you're going to be able to see that today and get an experience with that. The reason why I'm focusing on Bosch for this class is because they have a lineup of cameras that are pretty low cost, easy to install, and they have a large selection of dome cameras, which are very common in the retail environments and small business environments that you'll encounter. Most small business environments want small, easy to install, low-cost products, and all of what we're going to be looking at today fit that requirement. One of the challenges you're going to have in the, let me go back to my other view. One of the challenges you're going to have in the small business space is that in the small business space, you have to come up with a way to quickly install your products in a fashion that can be repeated very quickly and often by your employees. So you cannot get into a situation where you have complex installs or complex products. Even if you want to try to sell, for example, even if you want to sell a complex analytic or something, or a video management system that is rather complex or may have advantages, by the time you get it to the small business space, it'll diffuse and the small business owner won't be interested. So you have to have a product that is well-defined, easy to install, with preset things that you can do very quickly, that have a lot of power to them, that you can install very rapidly and impress the customer and then move on. Remember, most of the money you make on a surveillance system for a small business is not necessarily on the initial install. Although you do make money on the initial install, what ends up happening is you install a few cameras with a good system and then you grow it as they get more comfortable with surveillance. And this is what I've discovered all the time. A few counterparts of mine that were running businesses in the area I was in had companies that focused on IP surveillance, but they would sell to small businesses a solution. They basically install it and then leave and move on to the next one. I focused on the service and the maintenance of the product, but more importantly, I would install 1 or 2 cameras, and then the idea was to be able to grow more cameras as they got used to surveillance and started to find need for it. So I found that the add-on cameras that I added to the system made me more money than my initial installation. So this is an important consideration when evaluating a retail system or small business system. And so a lot of the considerations I put into selecting a product for this course was looking for those types of feature sets. And I found most of those, although there's a few lacking in this product, and I'll point them out as we go. All right, that's pretty much the introduction to what we're going to cover. I'm going to cover the IP, the DVAR 3000 product here in a minute. I'm then going to cover several of the camera lineups. As I go through the different cameras that Bosch has, keep in mind that Bosch is not the only manufacturer out there. You have several vendors that all have similar types of products. So I've selected 3 or 4 cameras from Bosch's lineup that fit the small business space. And I'm going to show you why I selected those cameras, and we'll go through them here in a few minutes. After we're done with that, I want to walk you through a software setup of the Bosch system and talk about how that works. And then we're going to focus on features that you need to know about when configuring a retail system or a small business system. I've also had some other courses that I've ran on PSU on IP retail environments, featuring other vendors' products, so feel free to also check those out when you get a time. But let's go ahead and dive in to the DVAR IP 3000 product. The first thing I want to show you, and let's go ahead and I'm going to bring something up here, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. So if you're looking at the video display, so you'll need to be seeing not only my desktop, but actually I'm showing it on the desktop, so you should be able to see it. So you can kind of see it in a bigger screen view. What we're looking at right now is a view of the Bosch camera interface, and you're looking at the Bosch DVAR 3000, and you're looking at the a monitor plugged into that box. Now this is what you need to do to initially get it set up. So let me show you something here real quick. This is the back of the Bosch DVAR 3000 product. And as you can see, the product has a DVI output. So you basically run that into your monitor. It also has a network cable. It also has USB ports. For example, I'm running a USB keyboard and mouse out the back so that I can manage this device with a local console. Of course, managing this device with a local console is absolutely the last thing that you want to do. So basically, if you take, I'll go back to the, I'll go back to this course here. I'll go back to the big view. So I'm going to first show you what you have to do to not do this, which took me a while to figure out. So for those of you who are interested in how to do this, this is pretty important to learn how to do. So let me go ahead and walk through it. What you're looking at right here, I'm standing in front of the keyboard now. What you're seeing right here is the monitor. Now you'll notice that Bosch, just like many other vendors, they like to create this dummy-proof interface where when you boot up the machine, it automatically connects to a wizard of sorts. So I'm going to get away from this Axis screen here. And I'm going to show you the back of it as well as we work. If you bring up your monitor, your WebEx view, you can see it. And if you click on those three little people in the top right-hand corner, I'll show you what that looks like. There's a little icon with three little people. If you click on that, you can view the screen in larger view, in full screen mode if you want to. So for those of you who want to see what I'm doing in a little bit bigger way, we're only going to be doing this for a few seconds, but I wanted to show you this. The biggest important thing, I do not like this configuration wizard, but it's pretty easy to use. If you click on it, it allows you to open up this configuration tool and allows you to go through settings step by step by step. You definitely want to go through this when you first boot up the Bosch system. So when you first load it, when you get it out of the box, you have to go through this setup one time. But after you go through that setup, you don't need to go through it anymore. In fact, what you want to learn how to do is how to get out of here. So the way you do it is you Control-Alt-Delete on your keyboard, and that brings up in the Windows logon screen. Now here's the trick. You have to hold the Shift key down, and while you're holding the Shift key down, you're going to hit Switch User. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up a logon. You'll hit Control-Alt-Delete, and they have a default account set up called BVR Admin. You'll click on that, and you'll set up, and they provide you a password with your installation instructions. So you're gonna go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and type that in right now. Of course, I have to type it correctly in right now. So this now brings us into the Windows Server desktop environment. So this just looks like Windows 2008 Store Server Essentials. No problem. There's two things you now need to know how to do. First off, you have to go to right-click on My Computer. So you're going to right-click on the My Computer interface. My mouse isn't working too good. So you right-click on the My Computer interface, and what you want to do is you want to set it up so that my mouse is not working. So anyway, once you right-click on My Computer, you want to enable this for remote desktop sharing. So basically, you want to turn on RDP. Once you turn on RDP, you can then manage the server from your computer, which is what we're going to do right now. So let me go show you how we do that. So looking at my desktop, I'm going to open up the remote desktop application on my PC, and I'm going to show you this on my desktop. So you should be able to see that now. I've got a remote desktop connection. Once I've gone through the initial configuration of the DVAR product, I can assign it an IP address, which I've done. Now that I've assigned an IP address and I enabled remote desktop by right-clicking on My Computer once I got Windows access, I'm now going to click Connect. And this is going to allow me to remotely manage this product. So I'm going to go ahead and log on, and now you'll notice that I'm going to have a desktop. And I'll drag this over here. You now can see that I've got the Windows desktop in front of me. All right, just taking a pause here. If anybody has any questions or comments as we go here, feel free to ask. The reason I wanted to show you how to do this is I've evaluated about 7 different small business products that are out on the market where you buy a small desktop box like you see here. The DVAR IP3000, by the way, has 2 hard disks in it, 2 terabyte hard drives. Most of them come with either a 2 or 4 drives. Every one of them runs some version of Windows Storage Server or Linux, something like that. But most of them seem to be running Windows Storage Server, and almost every one of them require you to figure out how to get in to remote desktop because the wizard doesn't do everything you want to do. So what I just showed you works across the board, but what I've done now is I've logged onto the server, and I can now run the config client and the operator client. And more importantly, I can share files out of here. So I can go, and by the way, now that my mouse works, I'll just show you. If I go to properties on my computer, you can go to remote settings, and you can select the option allow connections from computers running to this machine. So basically, you're allowing remote desktop in order to do what I've done. Now that I've got this set up, I can do things like set my IP address. I can do all the basic things that you would do to manage a Windows server. I'm not going to dive into all of that at this point in time. But what we have here is now the ability to log onto the server and do our basic configurations. After I'm done with that, my next step then is to figure out how I can actually manage the Bosch system from a workstation. Because you wouldn't want to manage this box from by logging on this way all the time. Another problem I ran into, I'll show you what happens when you run the operator client. And because I'm running this over remote desktop and I log on, the operator client will not show me video because the remote desktop client is incapable of showing me or rendering the video because it doesn't have a GPU or a graphics card on the box. So because of that, I cannot run the operator client and view it through remote desktop. I would either have to have my monitor directly connected to it, or I would have to do it the other way that I'm about ready to show you. So as you notice here, the operator client has already failed because it's trying to show me video, and it can't do so. So I'm going to just exit out of there just to show you the problem that you have. And now I'm going to show you the right way to do it, or the easier way to do it. So let's go ahead and do that now. So before we get into that, though, I have to introduce you to Bosch's website. Bosch has a really decent channel program. So when you become a Bosch partner, you can buy Bosch products. Most of their products you can buy not being a partner, but I highly recommend you become a partner so that you can get advantages that other people will not have, such as discounted pricing. In addition, they give you a pretty good support. I called their support department 3 or 4 times in setting up this product, and every time I got somebody on the phone, I had somebody knowledgeable and experienced and understood my questions. The hard part is navigating to the correct part of Bosch's website because Bosch is a giant company. So if you go to the product section and you go to video, you can get to several sections in here, and I want to show you one in particular. The area that I went to do the next step is under video software. So I'm going to click on video software, and you're going to see a variety of different video software packages. I'm going to click on video management systems, and this is a little bit confusing, but the one that you want for this particular exercise is the Bosch Video Management System, and the latest version is 4.5.5. So this is the one that you want. You're going to click on Product Page, and this will take you to the Bosch Video Management System. Okay? So now, what's nice about their website, once you figure out how to get around in it, they organize all their documentation for the product that you're on under the documentation section. So I'm going to refer to a lot of documentation today. All of it is in here. And then secondly, you can click on software downloads. And this is where we can download the software that we're going to need to install on a workstation. The one that you want is the Bosch BMS version 4.5.5 setup. You want to download the entire setup. And just get prepared to take a nap when you do that, because Bosch limits the traffic on their website, so the download will be really slow. I have a 200 megabit internet connection here in the office, and it took me about 3 hours to download it. So it does take a while to download, so just get prepared for that. But once you download it, this is the program that you want to install. Now, I've already downloaded it, so I want to show you what it looks like. So I dropped it into this folder, and in here is the actual software to install the Bosch BMS system. This is a licensed product, so you can install it and run it in an evaluation mode. But since we've already got it running on our DVAR IP3000, I don't need to install the server portion. I just want to install the client portions out of the software. So you'll double click on this, you'll go to the setup, and you're going to run this setup program. And when you do, there'll be a license agreement. And then this is the important point. You only want the operator client and the configuration client. You don't want anything else on there. Do not install anything else on there. Everything else on there is already installed on the product behind me that I'm showing you. The only reason we want the operator client and the configuration client, the only reason we want those is so that we can manage the system from a desktop, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So I've already installed it because I wanted to save us some time. So it's really easy to install. You just next, and it's pretty much done. The only hang up in there is there's one part during the install it asks you about firewall settings. Ignore it, because the firewall settings are for the server portion only, and that's already been pre-configured on the box behind me. You don't have to worry about the firewall settings, so just ignore that. The only thing we're installing this is so that we can get the operator client and the configuration client. That's the only reason. All right, that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my other desktop. There we go. You should now be seeing my other desktop. So the reason I want to show you my other desktop is once I've installed the configurator and operator client, I can click on my Start button, and you'll notice that there is under Programs, a program group is created called Bosch BMS. And when I click on that, I have the configure client, I have the operator client, and the config client. The config client allows you to set up the Bosch setup, and the operator client allows you to view the video from a machine. So what you would do in a small business environment, you would install this IP3000 product, and then you would deploy the operator client. You don't have to deploy the config client if you don't want to. I would, but you don't have to. You can deploy the operator client to your customer's desktop, to a workstation they have in their environment, or a workstation you provide for maybe viewing video. And this is the client they will need in order to access and view the video. And I highly recommend that you use this. There is the ability to view this stuff over the web, over Internet Explorer browser, but I would highly recommend that you download and install this operator client on the workstation in the environment you're going to be deploying the system in. Most systems that we see out there have some version of this, some client that installs on a workstation to access and view the cameras. And this Bosch system is no different. So this is how you get that. By the way, this little nugget of information took me a long time to figure out. I'm not sure why. It seems rather simple now that I did it, but it's not easy. The reason why it's not easy is because you have this tendency to want to go look at the documentation for the DVAR 3000 product, but you really need to be looking at the documentation for the Bosch video management system. And that's what threw me off when I was doing this. So just a little tidbit for you, some advice to get you started. So this is what you do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run the config client. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up right now. So I'm going to open up and I'm going to run the config client. It's going to open up with an admin account. Now the admin account's default is blank, by the way. So just so you know, and I'm going to put in the IP address. What you'll need to do is you'll need to click the drop down for connection and choose new and type in the IP address of your DVAR product that I've shown you how to configure. You're going to then go ahead and click OK because the default password is blank. If you get this message right here, that means that you have too many client connections connected to the DVAR product. So give me a minute while I disable the other side. All right, I think I got it. So I had to disable the client over there. Let's hopefully this works. It's not working. Make sure I don't have it running. I don't. Okay, hold on a minute. I've got it. I think I still have it running. Yeah, I do. All right, I have to reset something, so while I'm doing that, we'll move on to something else, and I'll get back to this in a minute. So in a minute, we're going to be opening up the config client, and we're going to be taking a look at it. So I'm waiting for something to happen. Once that's done, we'll do it. In the meantime, I want to show you the 3 or 4 products, IP camera products, that I think fit the environment really well. So I'm going to open up each one of those. So I have those in my browser already. So let's go ahead and bring them up. So once you install your Bosch cameras, you need to assign each of them an IP address. So when you first boot them up, they'll get an IP address via DHCP, and then Bosch provides you with some tools so that you can find them easily. And so what we've done here is I have found the product, the Micro 2000 HD product. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the products behind me, and we're going to take a look at them carefully. All right, so you should see if you look in your video, you'll see the cameras behind me. So I'm going to be showing you a couple of different products as we go here. And so we're going to take a look at these products while we're waiting for the system to restart. And while we do that, we're going to, there's several products here. So let me show you the ones that I think fit really, really good. All right? So hopefully you can see the video that I'm showing you. In fact, one of them you're seeing me. So let's take a look at it. There we go. All right, so I have the video up. You should be able to see all the cameras. Now, the first one is the more expensive one, and it looks like this. That's the one I'm touching with my hand right now. This is the FlexiDome Starlight HD camera. It's a native 720p camera. This particular camera is a really powerful camera in low light conditions. it's also in a very rugged dome. So consequently, this is the kind of camera that you would install in a small business, either indoors or outdoors, especially where they might have vandalism and where they want to see a nighttime shot, such as a parking lot or a back alleyway or by their trash cans or an employee entrance or something like that. This camera allows you to, it's a vandal-proof camera, but it also is resistant to some of the elements. It's an IP66 rated enclosure. It also has some nice features. It has a lot of inputs that we can do, like alarm inputs, things like that. It also has an analog input, so you can install this and test it out in the field while you're up on a ladder. The way this works is you have a little handheld device. I'll show you what one looks like. So you have a little handheld analog device that looks kind of like this. And basically what you do is you run your coax cable to the handheld analog device, and you plug it into this coax feed here. This gives you an installer menu, which allows you to adjust this camera in the field without having to have a laptop with you up on a ladder or wherever you happen to be. So that's a pretty nice feature for this particular camera. This is a pretty low-cost camera considering all the features that it has. And we're going to go ahead and now, while we're looking at that, let's go ahead and dive into the interface of that camera while we're at it. So let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to bring open the interface. Here it is. So we won't go through all the features of every camera, but I do want to point out a few features of this camera. And this will be similar to the other cameras. This is the one. This is the particular camera right here. I think, yeah, that's the one we want. So there you go. So as we look at this camera, I want to point out something very important. Bosch does something totally different than what most people will understand when it comes to video. So if you're used to video management systems, Bosch does something completely different. So I want to talk just briefly about what that is. So now you might remember most camera systems, the video comes into a server, and then the server processes that video and then feeds the video up to a client, like a software package. The value, the advantage of Bosch is what happens is all the cameras basically write to what is called an iSCSI target. So every camera writes to storage directly. They don't need the server or any software to get in the mix. They just basically write directly to hardware or basically to a storage device on your network. Because of that, every device in a Bosch system is completely managed by central software. So what I'm about ready to show you, almost everything in here, with the exception of a couple of features, are manageable by a central software package. And the reason this is such an advantage is because it gives you a lot of control over your cameras and over your video streams and things like that. So we can create scenarios where maybe the customer is trying to view this over the web, or they're viewing it over a mobile device, or maybe they have not a very good network like a lot of small businesses do. We can create profiles very easily that have low quality when they're viewing them just on an everyday, but when we're recording an important event, we can jump up the quality. So we have lots of features like this that we can do without involving a server in the mix. It can write straight to a storage device. We don't have to do that. And you're going to see how that works here in a minute. In fact, right now in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, you'll notice that this camera is actually recording right now. The reason why it's recording is because it's getting motion. Do you see the little guy with the green going on around it? That's me. See, I'm creating motion, and as I make the motion happen, the camera is indicating motion's occurring, and it is recording. The camera's been given instructions by the video management system to record to storage somewhere, and that's what it's doing. So every time it sees a motion, it's now recording. So you have all these type of things, and notice you'll see in the event log over here to the right, every time I move, an alarm goes off. because it's detecting motion in that region. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the settings page for these cameras. We're only going to look at one camera. All of them are pretty much the same. So we're going to go through the majority of the features. There's a basic mode and an advanced mode. We're going to dive right into the advanced mode, of course. And so we're going to take a look at a few of these things. First off, we can identify the camera. One of the things that may be frustrating to you when you're managing a video management system with Bosch is you're always trying to figure out how to change the name of the camera. Well, the name is deployed here, right? So this is where you can change the name of the camera. This is the name that you create here gets reported in the video management system later. You can also do an ID if you need one and that sort of thing. There are several passwords. By the way, the default password for the Bosch camera, the username is called service. It's not root or it's not admin. The username is service. And you can set a password on that. When you first log on to it, it'll ask you to do so. You can also have a password for live mode. You'll notice that when I went to live page, it did not ask me for a password. But let's say I don't want somebody viewing my camera just like this. I can then set a password on this by doing that setting there. So I can go to this general and set a password on that live view. And by the way, this password can affect you with different software packages you install. You remember when I showed you how to download the Bosch software? There's also, you can download from Bosch this thing called the video client. And the video client is simply a very small, lightweight client that allows you to just view video on your cameras. It's not a video management system, but it allows you to view video from multiple camera streams. And this is what sometimes people will install on somebody's workstation when they don't need any of the robust features of video management or the operator client, but they just need to simply view the video live. So you might put this on a receptionist desk. Maybe the receptionist needs to see what's going on out in the lobby or out in the parking lot, or maybe a manager needs to watch what's going on the floor or something like that. Maybe they have a sales floor they want to watch. The video client is a great tool to do that with. And so you don't need to install the operator client like I showed you. You can install this video client. The reason why I bring that up is the passwords that I'm showing you here can affect that video client's ability to view the software. And so if you want them to provide a password, you can do so here as well. You can set the date and time. By the way, the date and time is critical. I highly recommend using some time server, such as an SNMTP time service. You can specify an IP address here to do that with. You can also sync it to the PC's time if you don't have a time server. Time servers is important just to make sure that video and the video management system are in sync. Stamping. You can put the name of the camera, the timestamp of the camera, all of that right on top of the video. So when the video is coming out, you can have it stamped with an automatic thing. For example, maybe I want to know exactly what camera this is. So I'm going to go ahead and set a camera name stamp. What I do, I'm going to now go back to live view, and now you should see in my live view, I will now have the camera's name up here emblazoned on the top left. Now, if this is going to hurt your customers' feelings because they don't want, they don't want something messing up the pristine image, then you wouldn't want to do this. But it does make a lot of sense if your customer gets confused about what camera they're looking at. Is this the rear parking lot camera? Is this the front parking lot camera? Is this the cashier 1 or cashier 2 camera? Whatever the case may be, you'll want to set it up so that it's named appropriately, and it really adds a nice feature to what you're providing to your customer. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at, so that's stamping. There's other types of stamping you can look at, and you're welcome to do whatever you want with that. Okay, I'm not going to spend much time looking at the web interface. Let's go right to the camera menu. First off is the installer menu. This is the place that most people get frustrated at if they don't know it. You want to know right away how to flip your image, because if you install the camera, it depends on how you install the camera. If you install the camera to a ceiling, then you want flip image off. If you install the camera in some other way, like on the wall, then you want to flip image on. So you'll want to know how to do that. You also may want to mirror the image so it looks like what the camera's seeing. With mirror image off, as you'll notice that that I'll be backwards. See, I'm backwards now with mirror image off. But if you want mirror image on so it represents what you would see if you looked at it as a human, then you would want mirror image on. There is a menu, by the way, called a button menu. When I open up the camera chassis, there's a little button that if I click it, it'll show a menu on my display. And I can use that button menu to do all these features from that button. So when you open up the camera, anyway, when you open up the camera, there's a little button on there, and you can enable that button, which allows somebody from the camera itself to do this installer menu pretty easily. You can also reboot it. Right, by the way, remember I told you that there was that analog output that I showed you can do a little handheld analog with? You can enable that here if you want to. What's nice about this is it does both. It'll both output an IP feed and it'll output an analog feed. So this is great, and let me tell you why. This is big. In a lot of small business environments, when people walk into the store or walk into the environment, you want to have some ability for them to maybe see a monitor up at the top where it shows them, but you also want it recording. This is a great way to do that. You can have the analog output going to some monitor that's set up inside the store, and then you can have the IP feed going to the video management being recorded. So this is a great way to do that, a very low-cost way, because your other way to do it would have to be buy a little encoder that you install in the back of the TV and do all that mess. This is a great way to do it. So this FlexDome HD camera provides you the ability to do both feeds simultaneously. Other manufacturers don't do this. If they provide you that analog output, it's only on for a few seconds. You can't turn it on permanently. So Bosch is pretty unique in this feature. Picture settings. So let's take a look at that. By the way, you can set all of these different modes. You can create your own modes. I've created one called outdoor, motion, low light, vibrant, whatever. These are all the different modes you can create, and you can set your different modes. You can use your modes in what is called a stream profile. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here, notice that every one of these modes, you can adjust the contrast, the saturation, the brightness, the white balance. You can make all these adjustments to the video. So let's go ahead and just play around. Let's do one. I'll call this one Guy. And I'm going to say all right, so now we're configuring the Guy settings, right? So just to show you, if I wanted my white balance to be more outdoor, I wanted to be manual, I can adjust the red, green, blue to maybe adjust what white looks like. You'll notice that if you're looking at this my screen, notice the calendar behind me looks kind of the white looks kind of bluish. So maybe I could remove some of the blue. I could add more blue or remove blue, or well, oh, way too much. But you get the idea. So now notice is I've increased the blue feed. Notice that I might be getting more of a true white, but my other colors don't look so good. So you just have to experiment with it. It depends on the temperature of your lights. If you're using fluorescent lights or if you're using a softer light, it depends on the temperature on what you want to deal with. So outdoor will have a different setting as indoor will be. So you might want to just stick with the defaults. But if you have a scenario where something is just not turning out right, maybe there's a shadow or something and you want to adjust it, then you can get in here and adjust those balances as you want to. You can also adjust the contrast. And you can mess around with saturation and brightness depending on the environment. Maybe it's a kind of a darker environment and you want to adjust that accordingly, you can. Okay, lighting control. So every one of these Bosch cameras has an automatic lighting control, which is a great selling feature. Most people that are used to cameras or are used to these grainy looking, very poor quality cameras. These cameras have an impressive automatic light control. So you can adjust these to a whole bunch of features. Right now it's set to auto, but you can have it auto between day and night or set it to always be color or whatnot. But very important is you can set it to different fluorescent outdoor things. But what's nice about it is you don't really have to do a lot here. It adjusts for nighttime viewing pretty well in very low light conditions. In fact, if I were to go turn my lights off, you would see that this particular image would still gain a pretty good image quality even with the lights off. Okay. You can also deal with noise. One of the really powerful features about Bosch cameras, and this is something to remember as a selling point, this particular camera has a dynamic noise reduction. Now, not all the cameras do, but this one does. And what that means is I have the ability to, instead of having these giant, so as the camera, as nighttime comes or as darkness hits, what ends up happening is the image produces more noise. And that causes the bandwidth of the connection to the server or to the client increase dramatically. It also causes the video to become more choppy and otherwise produce poor quality. So dynamic noise reduction allows us to automatically reduce noise in things that don't change a lot. For example, you'll notice behind me here, these boxes over here or up here in the corner, this particular area is not changing a lot, right? So why am I worried about noise in that area? If that doesn't change very much, why worry about the noise? Instead, focus on the area that's making a lot of changes. And so because of this dynamic feature, I'm able to not use a lot of bandwidth, basically sending noise to my server. So this is a great feature, and you have some adjustments in here. You also have this backlight compensation. A lot of times when you install your cameras in your small business environment, they'll oftentimes put cameras and there'll be a window nearby, or there'll be a bright lit area nearby, or maybe outdoors. Maybe you're under a sheltered area and it's viewing outdoors. If you ever get into a situation like that, you do not want the lit up area flooding your image and causing the camera to not be able to display an image because it's flooded so much. So you can turn backlight compensation on. The camera will detect that there's a backlight, and it will automatically adjust so that it can get a clear view even with that on. So this is a great thing to have on. So, for example, I'm going to turn this on, and notice that the image has changed. I wouldn't really want it on in this situation, but if I were to aim the camera up at a light, there you go. So as you see that, I'm aimed up at the lights, and I'm able to see detail up there. Normally, those fluorescent lights would flood the camera's image, and I wouldn't be able to see anything. But in this case, the camera is able to clearly see the detail up above there. So if you ever have a situation where there's a bright light source that can flood your image, backlight compensation will help you do that. All right, very good. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because I want to spend time on this when we get to the video management system. But you have what we call encoder streams and encoder profiles. Every Bosch camera has at least 2 encoder streams. Encoder streams allow you to have one stream for one purpose and one stream for another. For example, we might have a stream for viewing it live, and we might have a stream for recording, right? And so in this case, right now what's going on is that one of these is being used for recording, and one of them is being used to view live. And so that's what's going on right now. You can then adjust the profile of the encoder of each of these ones to be different bit rates. So for example, profile 1 is got a target bit rate of 1024 with a maximum bit rate of 2048. And I can set my maximum or my lower resolution. This is for standard definition streams only. And you can see you can go through this, and you can adjust many different profiles for your camera. By the way, Bosch refers to a camera as encoder. So whenever you hear the word encoder, Bosch means camera. So there you go. The next thing you have is you have privacy masks. So let's say we've got a situation where I don't want you to see my calendar up here, right? I don't want people to see this, so I can mask that out and set that as a privacy mask. I'm going to make that active now. That means if I were to go to live page now, that calendar will be blocked out. You will not be able to see it. Let's see if that's true. Didn't work. Maybe I didn't turn it on. So anyway, that's how it works. You block out an area that you don't want to be seen. I didn't click the set button, it looks like. Yeah, I didn't hit set. So I'm going to go ahead and mask out that calendar, hit set. There we go. Now if I go to live page, we'll let that load. And now you can see that you cannot see my calendar up there, right? Because I set the privacy mask. So that's a feature you can do, and Bosch supports 4 of those. So you might want to do this if they have a camera in a room, but they don't want to see the monitor, or maybe a customer's face, or an advertisement they don't want to show. Or there's a whole slew of reasons. Usually I do it for people's desktop monitors. I don't want to show what's on their screen, but I want to see what they're doing. So that would be another reason why to do it. This camera supports audio, so you can turn audio on or off if you want to do so. And then finally, we have a pixel counter. So I want to focus, pixel counter is pretty nice, especially if you want to prove that you have a forensic level detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around, and we're going to see my face here in a minute. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab that pixel counter, and I'm going to say, you know what, in order to get forensic level quality, I need to have, I need to have like 200 by 200 pixels or whatever. So I'm going to focus on the person's face, right? So now you can see how many pixels are making up my face. So you can see how many pixels are covered by a selected area. Now, why is that important? Well, because you may have an application that requires it, or you may want to make sure that this is forensic quality, or you want to make sure that it works with a particular application you're doing, because these cameras can be used for more than just capturing video to record it for catching bad guys. It could be also used for a variety of software packages that can also use these cameras as well, such as maybe a people counter software, or tracking inventory, or something like that. So you have a whole slew of programs that we can use out there. And so understanding how to count the number of pixels in a particular area is important. All right, finally we have alarm. I want to focus on, you can do all these different types of alarms, physical alarms, or the most important one is VCA. So let's talk about VCA. VCA, first off, by default, it comes as silent VCA. So whenever you install a Bosch camera, it always comes as silent. You don't want to leave it on silent. You want to select Profile 1, and this has been set as Motion 1. So now whenever I make movement, you'll notice that a red mark comes up there. That means there's an alarm. Now you can adjust the sensitivity on this, decrease the object size or increase the object size, or select the area of motion. For example, I can say I only want to detect motion in a particular area, right? So you can do that. Or you can say I want, the sensitivity to be lower. So then maybe if I move barely, well, I'm barely moving, but it's still catching me, right? But I can maybe knock the sensitivity way low. Now I can wiggle my ears and it won't move, but if I move my whole head, then it will move, right? So you can adjust your different settings if you want to for different motion settings. So that's called VCA. That's the most important alarm. All right, that's pretty much it for that. All right, so that's the alarm setting. Hold on just one minute. All right, so that's pretty much how you set the video motion. You have alarms. Last thing we'll just cover real quick. Some of you may want to know, you can go in here and adjust network settings like your IP addressing. You can enable dynamic DNS. You can turn DHCP on or off. You also have SNMP management, for those of you who are into that, and a variety of other settings, which is a little bit too more advanced than I want to get into in here. But we have lots of features in here as well. So there's a full range of features that you can enable on every one of these cameras. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the cameras, but I do want to show a couple of different types of cameras just to show you what they are and why you would use them. So let's go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to flip my video so you can see them. All right, let's take a look at a couple more cameras, and then we'll move on with configuration. All right, so over here you have I showed you the Starlight Dome. Bosch also has these guys, and these are probably the workhorse of the cameras that you'll do most. This is called their Advantage line. This particular one is a micro dome camera. It's actual part. It's got a long part number. On the website after you're done with this course, I'll list all the part numbers. But this is a very small, easy to install micro dome camera. It takes about 5 seconds to install, and it basically provides a really quality image for a very small footprint. This is capable of 720p, and it's just 30 frames per second. So this is a pretty nice little camera. And these are really low priced. So most of the time when you do a small business environment, I would install a bunch of these with a product like this. And then whenever they have an outdoor situation or a tough lighting situation, sell the more expensive Starlight camera. But in terms of features, this camera has a lot. The challenge with this camera is it doesn't have some of the really nice features like the dynamic noise reduction and stuff like that. So it may not have some of the lighting features that this camera has. The other camera is the same footprint as this microdome, but this is not the microdome. This is a micro camera. The advantage of this camera is this is something you would put at a cash register or you would put at a front desk. It also works great for taking pictures of customers and stuff if they want to do that. There's some applications you can download that allow you to take a snapshot of the picture and then save it to an application if they want to do that. This has local micro SD storage. It also has audio, both two-way, so you can record bi-directional. And so this is a pretty nice little camera. It's just not in the dome footprint. It's the same identical camera, not in the dome footprint. So those are the three camera styles that you would most likely install in a small business. The other two cameras you might see up here, I have two analog cameras. If your customer is really cheap and can't afford a lot, then you may want to install these analog cameras. These are really, really low-cost cameras, but they do require an encoder. And if you're interested in how these cameras work and how the encoder works, then on Thursday I'm going to be diving into that on my Thursday class. All right. Let me take a pause there and ask if anybody has any questions. So is there any questions? I've been talking a lot. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Okay, well, no questions. So we're gonna get into the configuration of the Bosch video management system. All right, so as I've said before, a complete IP surveillance system requires the cameras, which I've shown you. It requires storage, which I've shown you. It requires a server, which you've seen. And now we require some ability to manage the system from a workstation. And what we're looking at here right now is first the ability to configure it, which is the configuration client. And the second thing I'll show you is the operator client. Okay, so now I have to explain a couple of things about Bosch. So this is confusing. So I want to make sure you understand this, because if you understand what I'm about ready to discuss, then you will understand both the advantage that Bosch has, but you will also understand how to add cameras to the system, and you'll understand how to explain it to a customer, which is even more important. So I'm going to open up Microsoft Visio here real quick. And I'm just going to create a blank drawing. There we go. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to show you kind of the architecture. So I'm just going to drag some squares out here. All right. So this is the IP3000 product, right? That's the 3000 product that I've been showing you. That's the server. And then we'll pretend that this is the, we'll say this is an IP camera. Well, actually, I'll say that this is a Bosch IP camera, which is an important distinction. A Bosch IP camera, what is going to happen is there is a package on the system called the VMS, the Video Management System. So the Video Management System is running on this IP3000 product. The VMS system allows us to manage the configurations on these Bosch cameras, right? That's what it does. Now, what happens though, and I'm going to open up the config client so you can see this in terms of what I'm talking about. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see I have the enterprise system, and oh no, not there. Sorry, I have this is the Bosch system, and you are seeing a variety of options in here. Now, one thing that is going to be confusing is you'll immediately think, oh, it's an NVR. That's what I have. No, you don't have an NVR. An NVR is for an older device that Bosch sells that you want to add for backwards compatibility. You can pretty much ignore this NVR device section. You might think, oh, I have a Bosch recording station. No, you don't. Ignore that as well. That's for the DBOS 8, which is also for backwards compatibility. You might think, oh, I have a DVR system. No, you don't. Ignore that as well. So these three things you just want to ignore. You're also going to ignore the enterprise system because we don't need that as well. If we add more servers down the road, we would deal with that. But in a small business environment, forget it. You don't need that. So all of those things you're going to ignore. So you might think, well, I'm going to have a matrix switch. Nope, you're not either. So far, we're ignoring everything on here, right? The thing that we're focused on is this section called VRM devices. And we have this thing called a local VRM pool. And so in the local VRM pool are all my devices. Now, let me explain what happens here. So going back to my Visio document. The VMS software running on the 3000 product manages the settings on these cameras, and it tells these cameras to do certain things. So the most important concept for you to understand is that what it tells it to do is write its video to this thing called VRM. Video Resource Manager is what it's called. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another thing here. I'm going to call it VMR. So the VMS is basically telling the Bosch cameras to write to this VMR, and it's giving it instructions to do so. So if the VMS were to go away, if the VMS were to suddenly stop working, the Bosch cameras could still write to the video management recorder pool. There would be no problem. And this is the way the enterprise Bosch system works. So the video management system does nothing more than give instructions to the cameras. Once the cameras have their instructions, they can write all they want to VMR pools. Now you can have multiple VRM pools. I spelt it wrong. VRM pools. So you can have multiple storage locations. Now, this is what you need to understand. The DVAR IP3000 product is just another storage pool. So it is a box that we've put in here, and it is a storage location, and it is an iSCSI target. So I have added a DVAR IP. It actually gets added for you. You don't have to do anything. But it is in here, and that is the storage location. And you can see it's hard disks and everything in there in the DVAR IP3000. You can see it all in there. Now, what's going on now is that product is being instructed by the cameras to write to it. Now, I'm going to save you a little bit of confusion. When you log on to the product, I'm logging on to the server again because I want to show you something. Once I've installed it as an iSCSI target in my VRM pool, once I've done that, the hard drives get taken over. So I want to make sure you understand that, because this freaked me out when I first started doing this. So when I first opened this up, I noticed my two hard disks in the system are full. They're already full. I can't record any video. That's not true. What's happening is this pool in the configuration client, this VRM pool, has taken over all of the disk storage. And so it's going to use that disk storage for cameras. And so basically that's what's happened. But to the operating system, it looks like it's full. But to Bosch, it's not full. So that's just an important thing to understand. So now I've created my iSCSI target. Going back to my Visio document, the Bosch cameras can now write to the VRM storage. So they don't really require anything special. They are just going to, once they've been configured, they're going to write right to VRM storage. Now, we could go and add another VRM storage if we wanted to. And this is what makes this really good for a small business environment. All of this licensing is included with one of these purchases. So I could, if I wanted to, add another iSCSI target. I could right-click on here and choose Add iSCSI Device. And if I had an iSCSI device, maybe some iSCSI appliance or a NAS product, I can simply add it there, or maybe another DVAR product like the DVAR IP2000 or 3000. I can add them in there, and they can become another storage target for my cameras on my storage pool. So that's how that works. Now, what this doesn't work for, though, is for cameras that are considered non-Bosch cameras. So Bosch cameras, everything's good, right? But for non-Bosch cameras, I'll show you what that looks like. So you have what we call a non-Bosch camera. And this camera has to be running on VIF. So any camera running the on-VIF standard. So I went ahead and grabbed a camera from one of our vendors. I grabbed a Toshiba camera. And I made sure that the Toshiba camera was on-VIF compatible, and it was. So what I did is I added the on-VIF compatible camera. I got it set up on the network. Now the question is, how do I get it to work? This was the hard part, so let me show you. So you basically go in here, and you have to add what is called a virtual video streaming gateway, or VSG. So you have to add a video streaming gateway. So now I'm going to go back to my Visio document, and I'm going to add this thing called the Video Streaming Gateway. The Video Streaming Gateway basically allows the IP3000 box to act like a Bosch camera. So what happens is the video comes in from the non-Bosch on-VIF camera to the Video Streaming Gateway, and the Video Streaming Gateway handles all the processing load for that camera. It then takes it and dumps it into the Video Resource Manager into your storage pool. Now, this requires overhead. So the more cameras you add, the more overhead you will impact the VSG product with, right? So you will be impacting your IP3000 product the more of these you add. So that begs the question, well, how many of these can you add? Well, I added about 12, and I was still doing okay. But I have a feeling that once I got up to like 16 or so, I would start to struggle, especially if they were high-resolution ones. The particular camera I added was a 720p. But I did learn something. The Bosch product has a special video transcode device installed on the inside the box. So if I popped open the box, and inside there, they have a card in there that allows it to handle the transcoding of video from on-VIF devices into the VSG. So they are doing some processor offloading in that box, so this makes it a little bit better than just some NAS product. So there you go. So that's how you handle your non-Bosch cameras. So if the non-Bosch cameras support on-VIF, then they can write to the VSG, and the VSG can dump it to the VRM. So let's go back to our config tool. So now everything that I'm talking about, the DVAR IP3000 iSCSI target, I added to the pool. The IP streaming gateway, I added to the pool. You'll notice I'll go to assignment here, and you'll notice that I have one camera here. So I scanned for and found a camera, and I added it. So it'll basically scan for and find all of your on-VIF cameras, and you can add them here, and it supports up to 32 channels. Don't kid yourself. This box is not going to handle 32 on-VIF channels before it dies. It won't work. So I got up to 12. I have a bunch of on-VIF cameras, so I added a whole bunch of them just to see. I got up to 12, and I'm still doing pretty good, but I wasn't doing a lot of recording either, so it is definitely something you want to be careful about. I imagine this box could handle up to 8 to 10 comfortably before it got too crazy. So there you go. So that's the idea. That's how you do it. Now, the third thing you have to add here is your cameras themselves. So what you do is you right-click on the pool and you choose Add Encoder. Now, that may seem kind of strange. It's a camera. It's not an encoder. But Bosch refers to them as encoders. So if I click Add Encoder, I can type the IP address, and I can choose the type of Bosch and camera I want to add, and that's how you add the camera. You can also right-click and choose Scan Encoders, and it'll go out there and find all of the Bosch cameras out there, and then you can add them all over here, which is what I've done. And by the way, yes, you can have multiple pools, so you can have different storage in different areas, but that's more advanced than we want to talk about here. But there you go. So that's basically what you do to set up the system. You basically add you have your iSCSI target, you have your video streaming gateway for your on-VIF devices, and you have your Bosch cameras, which are special because they are treated as encoders. They are not on-VIF. They're encoders, and there they all are added now. Once you've done that, you can now go to each one of these cameras, and you can manage all those settings, such as camera name stamping, all those settings I showed you on the camera, we can go and manage from here. So all the settings I showed you before on the web interface, you can now manage. I won't go through them all again, but you can go ahead and manage all of those through here. The most important, of course, is being the installer menu. So you can flip the frame rate, you can flip the image and that sort of stuff. You can change your contrast, your settings, your privacy masks. Recording management is important. Recording management means right now recording is being managed by the video management system. And so the reason I want to point this out to you is if I were to bring open that camera, you'll notice that when I go to that camera and I go to recording, which I didn't show you before, but when I go to the recording section, notice that up here in the top it says managed by VRM. So this is being managed by a VRM, and so all my options are grayed out because this is now being managed by the Bosch system. So I just wanted to show you the integration. You don't get this level of integration on an on-VIF device. You only get it when you're using Bosch cameras. Okay, there you go. That's how you manage the cameras. Now, let's get to the fun stuff. Now, after you're done configuring your devices, all you need to do is follow these arrows on the top. So after I'm done adding my devices, which I've done, by the way, let me point out something. You need to make sure you save your changes. Do you see where the save button is? You click save. Saving your changes doesn't apply them. It just saves them.
you now got to apply them with the green button. So you save then apply. When you apply, you have the option to force this change to affect all of your operator clients. So let's say 2 or 3 of your customer workstations have the operator client installed, and you've made changes. You can force that to apply to all of them. So now what I've done is I've saved my changes, and now I'm activating that configuration across all of them. The nice thing about this is I can revert back to a previous configuration if I mess something up. All right, now that I'm done with devices, I go to maps and structure. In order for your customer to see the cameras, it has to be in maps and structures. So basically, you just simply add cameras here. It's really easy. So all you do is over here to the right, to the left, you find a camera, and then you just drag it over here, wherever you want it. That's all you do. So I created a folder called cameras, and I just dragged all my cameras in here. Now you got to find all your cameras. Remember, some of your cameras are Bosch, and some of them are OnVIF. See this OnVIF camera? I dragged the OnVIF camera over there. That's how you drag them in there. You can also create maps. So I created a map. Basically, it accepts any AutoCAD DWG file. So if you go grab an AutoCAD DWG file, you can import it in here, and that's what I did. By the way, AutoCAD has a free you can take any image and convert it to a DWG file. It's really easy. Just go to their website, and there's a free utility you can download. I basically took this PDF file and I converted it to DWG, and now I've got it up there. Now, if you look real close, you'll notice that I have my cameras out here. So you just simply drag your cameras out here and let go, and now my cameras are on the map. What's nice about this is it gives your customer views of the cameras. So that's 2 things I wanted to show you. How to drag your cameras so your customer can see them, and how to create a map. So you might want a picture of your customer's building, for example. After you're done with that, you're going to go to schedules. Here's where you set your day, night, weekend, or custom recording schedules. So notice that you want day, night, and weekend. You'll set your customer's hours accordingly and drag your little arrow. Of course, if I wanted, oh, hey, my customer gets there early, I'm going to make that 6 a.m. That's now day. Do you see that? Maybe they work, maybe they want to treat Saturday like night. I'll go ahead and make Saturday like any night. So you can make those adjustments all you want to, and you can make adjustments for holidays. The reason we set a schedule is we can determine when we record or when we do things based on a schedule. When you're done setting your schedule, you're going to go to cameras and recording. All right. First off, your VRM devices are handled differently than your OnVIF devices. So if you go to VRM, you're going to see all of the cameras in here. Notice they're all down here that are managed by the VRM. You see all those? And so notice that I have my Bosch cameras in here, but I also have the video streaming gateway, which is right here. So I can manage the video streaming gateway in much the same way, right? But the video streaming gateway does not have multiple streams like the Bosch camera has. It only has 1 stream, and you'll see that I've got that over here. Now, here are the 2 important buttons you need to deal with. The first button is the diamond button. This is where you set your recording quality. So you can create your own stream qualities, excellent, good, HD. Here's a whole bunch of default ones you can set in here. And you can set what you want your bit rates to be, what you want your resolution to be. Based on the time of day, day, night, weekend, based on the event that occurs, you can have the Bosch system automatically adjust what's being recorded from the stream profile in that camera. So here's where you set that up. Once you set those up, then you need to go to this little clock thing, and this is called the schedule recording settings. Here's where I can set up my values. The one that we use most often is continuous alarm recording. What this means is that it's going to continuously record all the time. I may not want that. I may want it to record only, I may want, for example, I can set one stream to be very low quality, so I can have it record very low quality all the time. And then whenever I have motion, I can record high quality, right? So for example, I'll make this normal, right? But then on, whenever there's a motion alarm, right, I can have it record excellent, right? So you can set different priorities of recording, and you can do this for day, for night, for weekend, and for custom recording profiles. So here's where you can set all your different recording profiles the way you want to. Once you set all those up, you can now go for each camera that I highlighted here, and you can set the stream qualities. You have stream 1 and stream 2, and I can decide which one is going to be my live video. In this case, stream 2 is the default live. So I might want stream 2 to be my lower quality view. And then recording, right, could be set to a different stream family or whatever. And I can set it to be continuous, only on alarm, meaning only on motion. So this can be only on motion if I wanted it to be. And then here I can set how much storage I want. In this case, I'm going from 1 to 30 days. So that's how you set all of your recording details for your cameras. So hopefully I've helped explain that because it was a little hard for me to get used to. Just remember this, click the diamond first and the clock, then set your settings, and then you're good to go, right? Do not worry about events and alarms. Once you get to this section, you're done. Everything is going to work. You now save and apply your changes. After you've done doing that, you're now ready to open up the operator client. So I'm going to log on to the operator client. And by the way, you can set up different usernames and passwords in the user group section. But now that I've done that, I'm going to open up the operator client. And the operator client opens up 2 windows, by the way. The first window that opens up is the live view. And you'll notice that I've got a live view of all my cameras. And I've also got that map I created. This gets created by default. However, I can take different cameras and drag them over here and create different layouts if I want to. For example, and you can grab this orange, you can make one of these orange and make it bigger. Do you see that? So now I can grab one of these cameras and I can drag it. I can double click on it or drag it over there. Sorry, I got to move it over. And by the way, 2 monitors is really nice, right? So I'm going to drag this over to my other monitor and drop it off there, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now I've done that. Now I've got a larger view. Or maybe, you know, maybe this was, maybe this needs to be an HD view or whatnot. You can drag it accordingly. So you can make these bigger or smaller, depending on your need. So I can make these big or little, however I need to. By the way, notice that my map is here. I can zoom in on my map, and I'm going to make my map big. And now I'm zooming on my map. See that camera? I can double-click on the camera, and it'll automatically bring up the camera. So you can create a view of your customer store, and you can have camera icons on there that you can double-click and very quickly go to it. And just click on, and you can close that and go back to the original screen. So that's pretty much how you set up your views. You can have a larger grid or a smaller grid or whatever you want to do to set that up, right? So but just be careful when you do change the grid size, you may have to readjust your windows. So that's pretty much how you create these views in the live view. The live view is what would show up on your customer's monitor when they first boot up their computer. That way they can see all their cameras and investigate them. While they're in here, the customer can click on one of these and take a picture. They can save an image to wherever they want to. So I'll save that to my desktop there. So now I've got an image sitting on my desktop that I saved. I can also print an image like, oh, my employee is doing something bad. I can print it. They can also adjust these image panes so it looks a little cleaner. And they can speed up the frame rate or slow it down or whatever they need to do. That's pretty much the live view config. Now going back over to the client control, here's where I can take a look at each one of my cameras, and I can drag them over here like this. Now, I can also do the same thing I could do in the operator client. I can clean this up. But the reason I wanted to bring you to this is because you now have the ability to go back and view pre-recorded video. The way you do that is you click on the playback mode. Now that you're in playback mode, the mode that I like the best is, and by the way, you also need to adjust your in playback mode, you need to drag your cameras out just like we did before. So I'm going to grab my cameras and just drop them out there. I'm in playback mode. In playback mode, you can see, do you see the dark color? That's where all the cameras were recording. So you can drag your mouse to wherever they were recording. And look, this was at 4. This was 5 in the morning before I came, and you can see the cameras were dark. They were always recording, so I was not recording on motion, which is a bad idea because you're going to fill up your hard disk. But notice that as we go here, we can see when did Guy come to the there I am. It's cold in California. I had to wear a light jacket because it's really cold in California. It's like 50 degrees outside. So I had to wear a jacket. Here I am walking in at 6 a.m. and you can see the cameras as they're recording. So I can play back through these if I want to. Notice they're all playing back in synchronization. Hopefully I don't do anything embarrassing here. I don't think I do. But you can see I can go ahead and click on, and you can see here's me working, and I can play back through and play back forward to the cameras. The most important one, though, is this one called alarm. Now, you're going to get a lot of video signal loss, but you can set up alarms. So I could have had maybe when the door opens, it triggers the alarm on the camera, and then I get a video. So I can have this console show me when things happen that I want to see. And your customer can click on them, accept them, and then your customer can clear them after they're accepting them. Right now, I just got a bunch of cameras not being seen because I took them off, but that's how you do that. You can also click on video search results. This is probably my favorite view. You can view through all motions, for example. So I can set, I want all motions for a particular period of time, and you can have it search that and find all motions for a particular time. So what I'm going to do is I can click on this, and you can say I want to search for all events across all these cameras. You can click search, and it's going to search for all events and find any events from that particular period of time. Okay, and so you can also search for all alarms, and so that's basically how you can do it. And so you can view all the video back and forth as you need to. Once you've found video, you can export video, or you can add a bookmark. So I can bookmark this video so I can get back to it later. So if I needed to go, so maybe I caught something that happened, I can always go back to and view this bookmark. So let's say I want to bookmark when I came in this morning. So, okay, here's before I came in. I'm going to bookmark that. And I now have a bookmark for at some particular time and a bookmark at another particular time. So you can bookmark those all that you want to. The last thing you can do is click on export, and you can actually export the video. So you can save it as an AVI or a type of file. So you can export the cameras as well. So and there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do too. You can save. You can right click on any one of these and save the image. You can print the image. You can zoom in on it. You can do a variety of things. You just have to get familiar with the interface. I don't need to spend a lot of time going over it. It's pretty simple to go through. But that's pretty much how you do that. When you find a video that you like, you can right-click on it and choose Export Video. And here's where you pick the particular date and time that you want to extract. I won't do a whole hour because we'll be here all day. But I'll just do a few seconds. So I can export it as native format, or I can export it as an ASF file. I can export it direct to a CD-ROM or right to my hard disk. So I'll go ahead and export that, and now here goes the video. It's now exporting. It won't take very long because I only exported a few seconds. But now I'm exporting all these cameras at that particular time. And it is now done. And that exported that, by the way, straight to my C drive. And on my C drive, you'll see an export folder, and there's all the videos. So now I can double-click on them, and Windows Media Player will play them. So there's my lab at night. Woohoo, how exciting. Did you get the idea? That's how you can export your video. All right, that's the operator client, if you will. All right, so I'm done with showing you the operator client. I'm done showing you the configuration client, and that shows you the complete system from end to end. Of course, there are some things that we're missing. So just to give you, I'll show you my table and just show you the couple of elements I used that you'll need to know about. So let me show you that real quick. Let me give you a good view of my table here. All right, you're looking at an image now. There's a white box right there. You'll see the little white box. That white box is a power supply. You don't normally need a power supply for IP cameras, but in this case, I needed the power supply to power those two analog cameras. So this particular power supply was made by a company called Ultronics. The next thing you need is a PoE switch. And so this little box right here, next to the Ultronics power supply, is this little box right here is it's made by a company called TrendNet. So TrendNet makes a variety of PoE switches, and this particular PoE switch is powering all the IP cameras in my environment. So there you go. That's an end-to-end solution. I have the video recorder box with all the software required in the Bosch IP, the D-Bar IP3000. I have 3 dome-style cameras that are IP-based, 2 dome-style IP cameras and 1 desktop mount type camera. And then I have a couple of analog cameras. And I have my power supply, and I have my PoE switch. So those are all the requirements you need to put together an IP surveillance system for small business. I've pretty much wrapped up with my discussion today. I've left about 15 minutes for anybody to ask any questions from me. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an opportunity to ask questions. And feel free to either speak out or ask in the chat window if anybody has any questions. If there are no questions, what I will do is talk briefly about my techniques and tips on how to sell into small business. But if anybody has any questions, now would be a good time to ask. All right, stunned silence. So there you go. So no questions so far. Still feel free to ask if you think of something. Let me just wrap up this next 10 minutes. I'm just going to talk about how I would strategically position an IP camera system for small business. So first rule that Guy uses when selling to small business. You cannot just sell a camera system, right? If your goal is to go in to the small business retailer and sell a cheap camera solution, then you will lose. Because what's going to happen is that the small business owner will find camera systems out there a lot cheaper than you can sell them. And if the customer's goal is just to put a camera system up there so it looks like they have security, then you're not going to win. So you cannot go into the environment selling just a cheap camera solution. You have to sell more than a camera solution. So this is my tidbit to you. So when I mean sell more, what do I mean sell more? Now, I don't mean just sell switches and servers and cameras. I don't mean stuff. Don't sell stuff. Although I'm from Ingram Micro, I want you to sell stuff. That's good, right? But what I want you to sell is solutions on that stuff. So first rule, you sell the IP, you sell the camera system to catch bad guys, but you solve problems with it as well. So number 1, you can track and monitor employees. Number 2, you can reduce shrinkage in the store. Number 3, you can help their employees feel safer. Number 4, you can help their customers feel safer in the parking lot. Number 5, you can find software packages that can utilize the camera streams to do different things, like count the number of people that came into the store, count the number of people that loitered at a particular area of the store. So there's a variety of ways that you can come up with your own secret sauce to sell the surveillance system to include more than just the surveillance. So if you involve that, then you are more likely to make the sale. If the customer is looking at a $100 camera versus a $300 camera, and your $300 camera will check all those boxes, but the $100 camera won't, they're more likely to buy your system because they're selling the solution. Somebody asked me the question, does Bosch have certification requirements like Access? And the answer to that, the short answer to that is no. Bosch has certification processes, and they have a really good IT academy. They do much like what I'm doing now. In fact, after this course is done recording and I post it online, I'm going to give you some links to some of their free academy courses that you can take. So they provide a lot of free training and certification because they just want you to sell more programs. However, Bosch does have a dealer program. So they don't have certification necessarily, but they do have a dealer program. So when you get into the dealer program, you gain more favor by having certified installers on staff. Their Advantage line and smaller end IP camera products, that's not so big, but as you get into the larger systems, that is the case. So they're not like Access, where Access has a certification which immediately gives you a discount on the product. But they do have a dealer program, and so you want to get involved in that. Now, keep in mind, Bosch has a full portfolio. It's not just cameras and storage like I'm showing you today. It's everything. They do alarm, they do audio, they do paging systems. I mean, Bosch does everything. I mean, anything you can think of, Bosch probably sells it. So let me get back to, unless there's any, go ahead and feel free to ask more questions if you want to. But let me get back to the subject of more. So I told you that you can't just sell the camera system, you got to sell more. That also includes more services. You cannot install an IP camera solution at a customer and then walk away. What you have to do is provide services along with that product. And this is what's going to differentiate you from the alarm dealers or people out there just slamming in cheap solutions. You are going to sell services that give them what they actually want. So if they want to catch bad guys, or they want to catch vandals, or they want to stop damage to their store, or they want to catch employees, then I've always sold an incident response system on top of my service. This is a great way to give them that peace of mind. So now that I've showed you all these great features that you can do in Bosch, 95% of those, actually I would say 99% of those features your customer will never use. So your customer will never use those features. The person that's going to use those features is you, because you're the smart one that's going to figure it out. So consequently, what I would recommend that you do is sell a service. So when they have an incident, you remote in, because it's pretty easy to remote in. I've just showed you a couple ways to do that. You remote into the system, and then you can actually handle the response to the incident for the customer. Export the video, export the images for the customer, prepare a little packet for them, deliver it to them, and offer that as part of your service. Remember, you're coming up with ways to differentiate yourself from a small-end system to something high-end, right? So these are things you want to think about. Also, you can sell a managed service. I've told you how easy it is to manage the Bosch cameras from a central location. Why not have a completely managed solution? You're managing the storage, you're managing the box, you're managing the recording solution, you're managing all those things. And by the way, I did not show you one powerful feature. There is a web management feature on these boxes, and I've got 10 minutes, so you're going to get all 10 minutes worth right now. All right. So let me show you that. If you go to a web browser, you can go to the actual box. Hold on, I got to get the URL right. Okay, we're almost there. This is really cool. So I'm glad I remembered to show this to you. It's a little bit advanced, but I think it'll benefit those of you who really want to sell more of your services. What I'm showing you here, this comes installed by default, right? Which this sets this system apart from a lot of systems I've studied. I have the ability right now from the VRM monitor to totally analyze my system remotely over a web interface. I can see what the load balancing issues is, if I'm having a bandwidth issue. I can see the total number of cameras I have. I can see how many cameras are offline. I can see what my capacity is, how much is free, how much is used. I can see how long this has been up, what my total bit rate is. And then I have a whole bunch of other information I can find out about, you know, if it's overheating, all that kind of stuff. So you have this complete monitor that allows you to do things. And I can set targets for monitoring other devices in the network, such as my camera. So I can also go and monitor my cameras. So from a remote website, all I have to do is have a link from, you know, poke a hole through my customer's firewall and set a password on here and secure it. It does support SSL, by the way. I can go on here and now I can look at every one of my cameras, right? So I can see details about the cameras. I can get the IP on the camera. I can see its uptime. I can see how much is recorded, how much bandwidth it's taking. I can see if it's up or down, if it's dropped. I mean, I can see all these kind of things right from here. Notice that the high-definition camera is a higher resolution. So you could go and just take a look. How much recording is this camera taking? All these features or stuff you can manage. Now, you can completely sell this as an extra service on top of the camera solution. And look at all the things you can tell your customer can do. I can give you detailed logging once a week on the health of your system. I can tell you what bandwidth you're using on your network. I can tell you the health of your cameras. I can tell you the history of your cameras connections, all these things, and I can monitor remotely, do a health check once a week. All these are services you can add on to this and make that extra couple of bucks. Remember, when you're selling a small business, you got to get to this process where you have a team of people that do the same thing every time, right? And your margins are always really slim on your first install, but you're making it up on all these services you're selling, right? I got the monitoring service. I got the incident investigation service. I've got the camera repair service. I've got all those things. By the way, Bosch has an excellent warranty repair process. If your customer's camera breaks, they'll ship you a new one. You put it in, you ship the old one back, they'll fix it, you bring it back. You can make that a service as well. So these are a lot of different things you can sell as services with this VRM monitor. By the way, there's also a web service. There is a web viewer, so you can view the cameras over the web. I'll show you where that is. It actually installs on the server as under IIS, Internet Information Services. It's called MBS. So what I'll do is I'll show that to you now. So I'm going to go to the same website, and I believe it's called MBS. Nope, don't have permission. Hold on. I never have set this up, so I may have to do a setup on it, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. Yeah, no, I don't have it turned on. I gotta set it up. I gotta fix it later. You get the idea. It may be HTTPS. Let me see. Maybe I did. Maybe it is working. Maybe it works by default. I've never. Oh, there it goes. All right. So this allows you to view all the cameras remotely, right? Pretty neat. So this is the website that allows you to do that. So you basically have to log on as the MBS system. I'm not exactly sure what the password is by default. I don't think I've ever set this up. Let's see if it actually works. I'll be surprised if I get it the first time. Well, I did it. That's amazing. All right, so here you can see all of your cameras and all of your views just like we were before. So I can click on the camera and I can view that camera just like we were doing in the other client. So this is the web interface. So if your customer wants a web view of their environment from home, you can do this. Of course, you'll have to allow this through their firewall. And then there's also a mobile client interface as well. The IP3000 also comes with that as well. So you can do a mobile client if you want to. All right, so that concludes my discussion. My tip for getting into small business is create a way, pick a system. It doesn't matter what system. My vendors would be mad at me. It doesn't matter if it's Bosch or Act. I don't care what it is. Whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever has a good partner program, pick one. They're all basically roughly the same. There's advantages and disadvantages. I mean, there's some disadvantages to the one I've showed you today. There's some good things. But pick one, a good one, and figure out all the components, the cameras, the software, the storage. Get all the components figured out, and then get a couple of people that know how to install it, and then create all these add-on services that you can go into and deploy it. And I'm telling you what, you can just rinse and repeat that process through as many small businesses you can get a hold of. And it's a booming business right now. There's so much demand for IP security, it's amazing. So create your system, get it figured out, and then create add-on services, and that's my suggestion for you for success. All right, I am now wrapped up officially, so I will pause for just another moment for any questions. A few people have been asking me questions, and I've kind of wrapped it up into my discussion. Does anybody have anything else they would like to ask before we call it quits today? Thursday, I will be going over the analog solution, so and also Genetec. So we'll be looking at a different video management system called Genetec. So we'll be doing that on Thursday, so feel free to join for that. Stay tuned to your email. We'll be sending out an email that will have instructions on accessing this course online. This recording will be done in about 24 hours, and I will have the recording and various other little goodies for you up on the PSU website after we're done today. And hey, I appreciate everybody's time. Hey, this is my full-time job right now, is just teaching you guys security stuff. Most of you have my email. Feel free to reach out to me and let me know, hey, guy, I'd really like to see something on this. Most of what I've been doing has been because of customer request. Doing this Bosch one was because customers wanted it. You know, people don't know Bosch very well, so this was a great opportunity to explore a new system. I learned a lot just by diving into it, so I'm glad I did it, and I'm hoping you learned a lot. My goal is to just keep cranking stuff like this out and do more as I can. I try not to get too technical, but I know some of you are like it technical, so I kind of mix up the sales and technical. Next year, we are going to create a delineation between the sales and the technical, but for now, I'm just throwing at you what I got, and hopefully you'll gain as much as you can. Just keep in mind, mostly I work off of questions from people that send me emails, and that's how I come up with new topics. So, hey, I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much, and I'll be signing off.